People usually remember the big things, the loud moments, the sharp instants, the moments they believe split life in two, but small things fade more quickly. You don't remember the last time you said a name. You don't remember where you placed an object. You don't notice the moment a feeling begins to soften. And maybe that is why, when small things are forgotten, they feel heavier, because no one looks for them. In some places, it is said that forgotten things make the air heavier. That is why some valleys are quiet. That is why some houses feel full, even when no one is inside. The creak of an old chair sounds as if it remembers someone who never sat there. A drawer that is never opened keeps something that is no longer inside. Some say that objects have memory too, but that memory does not speak. It waits. Not all memories carry the same weight. Some are light. They scatter with the sunlight. They thin out with the morning. But some are heavy. You don't notice carrying them. You don't know when they settled on your shoulders. You only realize it one day when you feel tired for no clear reason. That is when you understand what you have been carrying was a memory. Unspoken sentences last the longest. An apology silenced just before being said. A thank you left unsaid because it seemed unnecessary. Some say these sentences never disappear. They simply look for other mouths. That is why sometimes the moment comes when you don't know why you are crying, why your chest feels tight. Maybe a sentence that was never yours has quietly passed by you. That is why silence is not empty. Silence is filled with things not remembered. Noise is temporary. Silence remains. That is why some nights feel long. That is why some sleeps feel deep. Because silence leaves what cannot be carried during the day to the night. Some say that forgotten things once had keepers. They never spoke loudly. No one knew their names. But when something was lost, their presence was felt. The keepers, they say, never held on to anything. They only made sure that what was forgotten was not completely erased, and maybe that is why some things disappear, but are never fully gone, and maybe forgotten things are not waiting to be remembered again, only waiting to continue existing quietly. Some things are not unfinished because they were forgotten. They are not forgotten because they are unfinished. People accept what has ended, but what remains unfinished continues to live quietly in a corner of the mind, a sentence never fully spoken, a path left halfway walked, a door never completely closed. These things do not stay in the past. They simply do not move forward. Unfinished things have a strange patience. They do not rush. They wait for the right moment to remind themselves. A thought that arrives suddenly in the night. A sadness without a clear reason. A pause that makes no sense. In that moment, a person may not know what is missing. They only feel that something was never completed. And because this feeling cannot be named, it often stays longer. Some say that people grow most tired of what never ends, because finished things close, but unfinished ones remain open in the mind, in the heart, sometimes even in the body. That is why some burdens are not heavy, but they are always carried. Their weight grows with time, because there is nowhere to put them down. When a farewell is left unfinished, a person keeps waiting, as if one day it might be completed. If a word was never said, the inner voice never fully falls silent. An unmade choice returns with every new decision. Unfinished things do not block the path. They stand beside it and watch, and sometimes just knowing that they are watching is tiring enough. Time treats unfinished things differently. It does not take them away. Instead, it surrounds them with silence. That is why, even after years have passed, some moments feel exactly the same. Because unfinished things do not age, they only grow deeper. Some people grow used to carrying what is unfinished. They learn how to live with it. After a while, the feeling of absence becomes familiar, and people feel safest with what they recognize. That is why sometimes even the possibility of completion feels unsettling, because once something is completed, it will belong to the past. Some places feel strange because of this. A room no one stayed in for long, a road abandoned at a certain point, a window always left slightly open. They carry something unfinished. Even if a person does not notice it, they slow down when they enter, as if that place is still holding an unended story. Some say that unfinished things do not disappear. Like forgotten things, they remain somewhere. They do not move forward. They do not return. They simply stay where they are until someone stops and notices them. To be noticed is not to be completed, but sometimes it is enough. Maybe that is why. Some moments feel familiar, even if they have never been lived before. Maybe those moments are not new. They are simply an unfinished thing reappearing in another time, in another form. And when a person realizes this, they pause for a moment, because sometimes it is not ending that is needed, only understanding. Silent memories. Some places do not forget what passes through them. People leave, sounds disperse, the light changes, but places remain. A silence that has waited too long, in the corner of a room, seeps into the walls. A step left unfinished on a road becomes a mark in the memory of the ground. That is why, when entering certain places, a person slows down. They don't know why, but they feel it, as if that place is still holding something that once happened. A house can feel full, even when no one is inside, because houses do not only keep objects, they keep paused moments, mornings spent by the window, evenings hesitated on the doorstep. Some say that the quieter a place is, the more it has witnessed. Noise comes and goes, but silence does not let go of what it has seen. Roads are like this too. Every road carries the intentions of those who passed through it, not only the journeys taken, but also the ones never begun. When a road narrows at a certain point, sometimes it is not geography. Sometimes it is a decision that was turned back from, abandoned, or postponed. A person does not know this, but they feel it while walking. They cannot explain why their steps slow down. That is why some valleys make you breathe deeper. That is why some bridges make you stop and look. Because places do not simply exist, they remember. And what they remember, they quietly pass on to those who move through them. People often believe their lives are shaped by big decisions, but life changes direction through silent choices, choices never explained to anyone, a yes never spoken one day, a quiet no given on another. These choices are not heard, but they leave traces. Silent choices grow without being noticed. A person carries them not as decisions, but as feelings. They name them. This is how it had to be. But sometimes, when they stop and think, they realize it could have been otherwise. That realization is the quietest of all. Some people cannot fully explain why their lives flow in a certain direction, because the turning points did not arrive loudly. Doors did not slam. Roads did not suddenly change. One place was paused at, another was continued from. And that was enough. Silent choices are kin to unfinished things, neither rush, neither force themselves, but both remain, even as time passes, even as people change, because who a person is shaped not only by who they became, but also by who they chose not to be. Maybe that is why. Some moments feel familiar while walking down a road, standing in a room, pausing at the edge of a decision, as if they have stood here before. Maybe they truly have, or maybe this is the echo of a decision never made. And maybe life is shaped less by what is clearly remembered and more by what remains silent. Maybe life is shaped less by what we remember and more by what we don't, by what was never said, by what remained unfinished, by the decisions made quietly. Most of the time, a person does not know what they are carrying. They only notice that on some days they wake up heavier. They cannot explain why, and they don't need to. Some things are lived and come to an end. Others are lived, but never close. They remain somewhere, in the corner of a room, in the curve of a road, in the silence of a night. Without realizing it, a person passes by them, but while passing, they slow down, because some things can be felt without ever being seen. Time does not take everything away. Some things it only covers. That is why the past does not stay behind. It grows deeper, and sometimes a person looks for today's tiredness in the past, but what they are searching for is not a memory. It is an unfinished feeling. Some say there is a balance to all of this. The forgotten, the unfinished, the silently chosen, all of them are held somewhere, when no one is looking, when no one is remembering, as if something does not allow them to disappear completely. Maybe that is why we feel that not everything is lost. Even if names fade, even if roads change, even if people leave, some traces remain, because some things do not exist to be remembered. They exist simply to be. And maybe that is why night comes, to let the noise scatter, to leave what the day cannot carry, to silence. When a person sleeps, answers do not arrive, but burdens grow lighter, because some things are not carried by thinking, but by letting go. Now, everything is where it is, the forgotten, the unfinished, the quietly chosen. And you no longer have to hold them. Night is here. Silence is wide enough, and waiting for now is enough.